Hello and welcome to Exercise 4, Recipe Book. So here's a little project overview. We're going to be using Codepen. You are going to be creating a recipe web page, and this web page is about how to make a food dish you enjoy. This can be your own recipe, a family recipe, or content from a recipe you find. If you do use a recipe other than your own, be sure to give appropriate credit to the source or author. All right, so let's first talk about, so let's just scroll down here. Let's first talk about what you need, or I should say what you need to get, or what you need to have for this project. So first, we're going to be creating a nav bar, and we're going to go through this step by step in the videos. But the nav bar, you're going to have an element which will be 100% of the width of the browser, no matter what the browser width is, or the device. The height is going to be locked at 100 pixels. And then you're going to have to create or come up with a logo, an icon, which will represent your recipe. And that icon will be 100 pixels by 100 pixels. Now, you can be creative. It doesn't have to be a square. You can create, or you could use a PNG with an alpha channel, a transparent background, and then you could have any shape that you want. And you could use transparency to help you realize that curvature or that organic shape instead of something that is hard-edged or rectilinear. All right, so we then have to have a headline. That headline will be MAT 125 Recipe Web Book. Unless you're in the Art 344 class, then it will be Art 344 Recipe Web Book. We're going to need a previous button and a next button. Now in the demos, I'm going to create a banner, and it will be perfectly fine if you follow through and you create a banner other than your icon, which follows what I have done or what I will do step by step, line for line in code. That's fine. But if you want to kind of step out of the box, you want your own color background, you want to style the text in your own way, you want to resize the buttons, you want to move things around, that is completely up to you. As long as you stay in the 100 pixel tall parameter and 100% wide parameter as far as the nav. Okay, now the content you're going to need. You're going to need a hero image, a food shot, one image. I'm going to go with a 16:9 aspect ratio, and I'm going to go with 800 by 450 pixels. Now, traditionally, I've always worked at 72 pixels per inch. That was always thought to be correct. Maybe not so much anymore. It really depends on if you're dealing with screen or print use. We're screen-based, so 72 ppi is or may be a myth. As an example, if I open up, here's an image that I'm going to use in the demo, okay? And if we take a look, I'm using Preview on a Mac. If we take a look at the size, and we'll see that 800 by 450 is my pixel size. And I'm scaling proportionally, resample the image. If I were to take this check off, then if I change the resolution, then my width and my height will change. Okay? So I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure, and then let's set this back to pixels. Okay? So I want to make sure I am not resampling the images or the image. I can leave scale proportion, that's fine. So if we take a look, 800 by 450, we are telling this image to be 800 pixels wide, 450 pixels in height. The resolution is 72. You see what it looks like back here. What if we were to set this to the more traditional print, 300, and why would it be 300 in print? Well, the most typical in print would probably be magazines. Okay, so let's just say a magazine is typically 133 to 150 line screen. Okay, so if you're not into print, that's okay. We don't really need to go in and explain that any further. It's just that we use a line screen to reproduce the image. And typically, in a magazine, they would use a 133 to a 150 line screen. If you double the line screen, that will give you the amount of resolution you need to reproduce that image. So if you had a 133 line screen, you would need 266 on the resolution. If you were using a 150 line screen, you would need 300. 300 is that catch-all that industry just throws out. What size? You'll ask someone, what size image do I need? Or what is the resolution? 300. Why? Because I was told 300. Okay? It really depends on the line screen to how much resolution, but that's print. This is screen-based. So if I change the resolution to 300 and click OK, did you see the image change? No, because now there's 300 pixels in an inch, but we're telling the image, if we go back up and look, we're telling the image to be 800 by 450, regardless of the resolution. So if we change the resolution to 1 pixel an inch and click OK, the image did not change, correct? So if we go back up to Tools, adjust the size, 800 by 450, even though there's 1 pixel in an inch. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter how many pixels are in an inch. It's how wide and how tall you tell the image to be. That's what's important in print. Okay? Remember, that is what is important in screen. Okay? Not in print. Print, resolution is critical. Screen, we just need to set the width and the height, regardless of what we set the resolution to. All right, so I'm going to click OK, and I'll just get this out of our way. And now let's get on. So you're going to have a name or a title for your recipe. You're going to need a rating system. I'm going to go with the typical 5 stars. But let's say I'm doing a recipe on guacamole. So maybe I want to use avocados. Maybe I want to use chips. Maybe it depends on what your recipe is to what the symbol is for the rating. But I should mention here, and I'll update this, we're going to have a rating of 5 somethings. All right, so then you need to be able to print your recipe. So in type, you're either going to indicate print recipe, or you're going to have a graphic which the user will understand. They can click to print the recipe. You need to include a level of difficulty, easy, moderate, difficult. I'm going to leave the words you use up to describe easy, moderate, difficult. I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay. You need to indicate the total time. You would need to indicate the prep time, and if appropriate, indicate the inactive time or the sit or wait time for the recipe. You need to include yield or servings, nutrition info, that this is a link, and it could be text-based. And you do not need to link to actual information on the nutrition. We just need to include the fact that you could get the nutrition. You need an icon, or you need, that'd probably be best. We're going to use icons for our social media icons for sharing the recipe or posting the recipe on these different social media outlets. You need to include the ingredients. You'll list them. You could use an ordered or an unordered list, or if you just want to come up with your own way of listing those ingredients, it's fine. You need the directions. The directions can be one step, as if you are just writing a paragraph. They can be multiple steps. You could have multiple paragraphs, or you could list your steps again in an unordered or an ordered list. That is your option. Now, images for the directions. This also is optional. You may want to include an image for each step in the directions, or maybe you just want a few gratuitous images. That's up to you. You don't have to include any images other than that hero image, and then the various graphics that we've talked about. Now, in the videos, we'll go over, and you should go beforehand, you should review the exercise so you know you have all of the parameters met, all of the steps, you understand them. But we're going to go through all the rest of what you see here in the videos, step by step. Okay? So again, review the exercise so you know exactly what it is you need to do. And then start looking at the videos. All right, so there's the overview. Now, let's get at creating our recipe.